It did sound a little better to me.
Which
well, cool,
way sounded
that's
better?
all that matters, so I'll just leave it right there.
Signal or the not so wide?
Y'all doubled, and that didn't sound very good.
Which way are you talking about he sounded better?
The last way, where he was at 200 and 2800, I believe.
Okay. Sounds better here that way too, but you know, Dave is close to me, and he hits me pretty hard about a 30/9 signal. So you're a whole lot better person to radio check with than I am.
Dave, you sound real good right now, and you look good on the scope. I'd leave it there if it were me.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. There's no sense in you know, driving it to oblivion. You know what I mean? I'm just going to wear it out, and, you know, if you don't need it, you don't need it.
That's right. And if you drive your new one that way, it'll sound really good. If you overdrive it, it's going to be fuzz on both sides of the scope, and it won't look good.
So I should be able to just leave my radio set then the way it is right now, and then just switch out the amplifier, and I should be set to go.
Yeah, the only thing you might want to change is the amount of drive.
Oh yeah, I couldn't drive it with this because I think I'm running 75 or 80 watts of drive right now, and I think, well, Ted will know. I don't know. I think the maximum that you're supposed to run that amp is with 60 watts of drive. But people are telling me I'll be getting 1,000 watts by putting maybe 40 watts into it.
The sweet spot on the Mercury 3S is going to be around 40 watts a day.
Okay, so we'll look right there because, I mean, there's no need for it to drive harder, you know, putting out 1,000, and that's, you know, that's good. With 40 watts, you know, there's no sense in beating the amp up.
Well, we'll compare it to guitar amps, which I'm sure you're totally familiar with. You know, if you take a tube type guitar amp and you drive it to where it's flat topping, you get a different sound out of it. Now, sometimes that sound is desirable, but it's not a clean sound, is it?
No, and that's why I always used the Fender Twin Reverb, because it was 100 watts tube power, and because I didn't play that loud, I got accused of that more than anything. You know, can you turn up a little bit? You're not playing very loud. And but that way it kept the tubes just, with that Telecaster guitar I had, kept it just really, really clean.
No, okay. Well, the RF amps are no different. If you leave them a little bit of headroom where the amplifier's not flat topping on your voice peaks, it will sound better and it will look better on the scope, you know, if people are looking at the scope. And you won't be splattering adjacent frequencies and that sort of thing. You got to give it some room, you know.
Right, and if the Mercury will do 1,200 watts, then if I'm hitting it with, you know, if I'm making it do 900 or 1,000 watts or something like that, that's going to give it, you know, a couple hundred watts of headroom that, and clean area that I'm not pushing it.
That's what I'm talking about.
And most people won't be able to tell the difference between 1,000 or 1,200 when they hear it.
No, Well, honestly, I don't know. I guess the sale of MFJ worried me a little bit, but also just the situation with tubes and things, difficulty in trying to get tubes that are good, that are going to last, and that sort of thing, and just, I mean, this amp I've got is not that old. It's 2017, but it is, you know, typically old technology, and the Mercury is a whole lot easier to operate, and it doesn't have tubes. So, that's the thing that, that's the thing that impressed me the most about the Mercury and sent me down the road to go buy one.
One thing to remember, and this is just my opinion, Dave, that a tube amp, you can just treat it terribly. You can overdrive it, you can do all kinds of things to it and not hurt the amplifier. That's not necessarily true with a solid state device.
Right, yeah, that's why, keep it driven, within the parameters that it's designed to do, and, it's kind of like, don't drive any faster on a snowy road than that you can control your car, and if you are talking to somebody 400 or 500 miles away, you don't have to drive 1,000 watts to talk to them, You can talk to those people on 100 watts, so, drive your amp, 500-600 watts and be happy.
WA0DJA.
N4SQB.
K5PAR.
KC8TDX. But I do have to say that I have quite a bit of difficulty getting out on this frequency, this band, with much less than, 1,000 or 800 or 900 watts. People just can't hear me for some reason.
Well, Dave, right now your voice sounds, it's sharp, it's very clear, even with almost static. Only I can dial most of that out anyway, but it sounds really good. When you were driving it before, with more power and a wider spectrum, it was muffled and it was much more difficult to understand.
Well, see, and that's exactly what I don't want to have happen. So, I need to go into my tablet here that I keep my radio settings in and make my changes here to where, I keep them written down. If something ever happens and the radio would have to be reset or whatever, I have my settings in there for how everything is set up.
Yep. But you sound good, and that's important. And while we're just BSing here, I'm up later than I normally do, but that's fine. I'm enjoying the conversation. But there's so many people that run different audio levels depending on what they're doing. You just have a good quality audio and just run it all the time that way, and you'll be far better off.
Yep, he's telling you right. Just find the sweet spot and stay there. At least that's been my experience.
Yep, mine too, in over 60 years. But anyway, I know there's a lot of DXers that think they have to have a DX voice so they can get through the crowd. Well, sometimes getting through the crowd doesn't make you sound good. And the DX guys might not care if they sound good or not. They're just counting contacts. But I highly recommend finding a good audio and leaving it set there, because you'll sound the same way on all your bands. And people will understand you. And I would much rather talk to somebody that I can understand well than somebody that's got a big signal.
Yeah, you don't always want to be going, could you repeat that?
That is frustrating, and I get that at times, and those are the times that you don't hear me say much. I just figure, whatever reason, I'm not putting out good or conditions aren't good, I'm not going to repeat everything that I say. It just isn't worth it.
I'm looking at this 2022 Tiffin motorhome on Facebook Marketplace.